Do your kids boss you around, tell you how things are going to be? Even worse, do your adult kids give you ridiculous ultimatums and shame you into accepting their worldview as a caveat for their love and affection? Are the humans you brought into this world just overall ungrateful and appreciative and entitled? Well, then, my next guest today is for you. She calls herself the Doormat Mom, and her approach to parenting has taken social media by storm. She joins me now, author of Doormat Mom No More. So you call yourself the Doormat Mom, but you are a Doormat Mom No More. You got to tell me what inspired this? What personal experience just told you enough is enough and you wanted to share it with the world?
I have a daughter who really became an ungrateful adult kid. And after raising her by myself, because I was widowed very young, and giving her basically the world in love and in financial support, and she had a wonderful life. Um, I was told when she was getting married that I couldn't attend the wedding. And it was so stunning to me. This after she'd already arranged for me to have a second celebration on her behalf to celebrate that wedding that she was holding in a different country. And I was so stunned and hurt, and none of it was logical. So I took a step back and I reached out to other parents through TikTok to see if they were dealing with the same issues that I was dealing with, where you can't make sense of it, and yet here you are, having been a really good parent and having given everything that heart, body, soul, everything to your child, and now you're getting the shaft, and lo and behold, I the swarm of parents that had the same stories. Um, it's been overwhelming, completely overwhelming.
What do you think accounts for that? Because I'm sure it's a generational thing. Like, my parents, they deeply respected their parents. Sad to say, probably even more than I respect my parents. I mean, there's just a respect for your elders that the older generations grew up with. It was just something, no matter your race, no matter your gender, no matter your political affiliation, you just respected your parents and you respected your elders. I wish we could bring that back. I hope we will. But then it seems like as time went on, there was just less and less respect. And I hate to victim blame here, but I think maybe younger generations of parents might partially be to blame because they set the standard at a very young age that maybe the kids were in charge or that there wasn't a great deal of expectations for kids. And, I say that as a millennial. I think that there are a lot of millennial parents and also millennials who became parents who maybe don't teach their kids right from wrong, or they're not as stern or tough as maybe they should have been growing up. So then when they do have adult children, the doormat mom thing is kind of what comes home to roost. How true do you think that is? And what's your assessment of that?
I think it's 100% because I think when we started teaching kids that they were our peers and our friends, that began to decline. I think society overall, the woke society narrative has has taught that parents are not the head of the household, society is. I think there's a lot of social media, that a lot of the social media is making it worse because kids are learning from each other through social media, and it's just been indicative of just taking control of the family away from parents. And then on top of it, I think, hate to say it, but there are a lot of therapists out there that are contributing to this issue. And I've heard it time and time again that there are some very good therapists, but there are a lot of really bad therapists, and they're pushing a narrative that's destroying the family. And it's really been hurtful. I hear from parents, the stories I hear are heartbreaking. These parents are in such pain because they love their adult kids, but they can't be in the same room with them. They're being always being told that they have to take accountability for things that they don't agree with that didn't happen, but in order to have a relationship with these adult kids, you have to take accountability, you have to apologize, you have to, it's almost as if the parent is being told to be silent, stay in the room, be silent, and as long as you're silent, you can be here. But the minute you speak, and it's like
Yeah.
it's just a flip of what it used to be. There's no respect anymore for parenting. There's no understanding. There's no grace. Abuse has become a catch-all phrase. Everything falls, and the minute you don't give them what they want, you're abusive, you're toxic, you're narcissistic. Those are the top three adjectives I hear all the time. And you can't give your kids everything. It's just impossible to give your kids everything. And so I tell a lot of the parents that joined the Facebook group and are reading the book and now engaged in the podcast and everything. Um, you know, uh, you have to be able to set your boundaries. You have to be able to set your boundaries, no matter if the backlash from that is then they're going to walk away or become estranged, and that's a huge epidemic in this country now. I just wonder for families are coping with that, and it's happening all over the globe too. I'm getting parents from Europe, from Australia, from Canada. They're all coping with this. This isn't just a small issue. It's been a very silent epidemic. What I didn't realize though, when I came out and shared my story and started pressing on the points that I experienced, how large it was. Be that these parents were just waiting for someone to, because they felt like they were so alone,
Yeah.
Tomi. I mean, they really, and it's embarrassing to the extent that here you can't explain it. So, society teaches that the parent is always at fault, but the parent isn't always at fault. Scientifically, there's backup to that. The parents are parents. They do their best, and there is a good enough in being a parent. You can't be perfect, but there is a good enough, and you should be respected for that, and you should be appreciated for that. And I hear constant complaints about their kids are entitled.
Yeah.
You want to give your children the best. You absolutely do. But at the same time, when they start interpreting your best as required,
Yeah.
then that's a really damaging cycle to get into, and it's happening.
Yeah.
It's happening. I mean, look where you hear teenagers and young adults shushing their parents. The parents gives an opinion that's counter, that they don't agree with, and they actually have shush them.
Yeah.
That's like, that it's crazy.
Well, I think a lot of this has to do with, like you said, entitlement. And I think that there's been a lot to do, and maybe an overcorrection, because, there was a time where things weren't perfect in older generations where you never questioned adults and you never questioned your elders. And that maybe isn't always the best method of
Right.
practice either. I mean, you have to have a healthy dialogue and conversation, especially when you're dealing with two adults. But there was an overcorrection, and it was like the kids have to have boundaries, and they have to have their truth, and they have to respect their mental health and their aura and their vibes and all this stuff. And it became an overcorrection where kids who were
Yeah.
actually raised very well by really great people, whether that be a mother and a father or a single mom or a single father, they started to feel this entitlement to say, oh, well, my vibes are off, and my parent is this or my parent is that. No, you're just a brat, and your parents did everything they could for you, and you're not appreciative of it because society tells you that you are owed more. And this is a new concept, and I hear it a lot from young people. I'm a millennial. I think Gen Z is worse. Every generation thinks that the generation after them is worst. Objectively speaking, Gen Z is the worst, but Gen Z, they have this real, infatuation with mental health, but they use
Sure.
mental health as a catch-all. So everything is about their mental health. Like, they don't want to do something, their mental health. They don't want to be somewhere, their mental health. They don't want to work, their mental health. So the work-life balance is what we hear a lot too. And I think it's a lot of laziness. So I'm wondering, you wrote a book about it and you talk to parents about this all the time, especially mothers. What are some tips that you have for parents to set their boundaries and to combat some of this so they can just feel better in their situation?
Well, I think you said it, one, you have to set your boundaries and you can't be frightened what's going to happen after that. You cannot be a hostage to your children. So that's one of the things that you have to realize also that you have a life. So your life didn't begin with your children. And so you can't make your happiness all about them. If they don't like what you're doing or they don't like what you're saying, you don't have to change that to appease them. All right. Because you're compromising yourself. And I think so many parents have compromised themselves where, they can't, when they're at the holiday get together, they're the only ones in the room that can't share their opinion because, because the kids don't agree with it. So you can't do that either. I think that, realize that you have value and you can't sign on to this. Oh, I have to take accountability even when I don't feel I'm accountable for this because I don't see it this way. And that's not to say that it's not to say that you don't want to make it right, but you should not compromise who you are as a person and as a parent just to appease your adult child.
Right.
And because it's going to be a continuous, it's a cycle that you don't want to get into. There is a level of respect, and you will never be your child's peer. You will never, because you have that experience, you have that age,
Hmm.
you're always going to know a little bit more. Maybe not in this, some tangible ways, meaning, okay, maybe you're not going to be as, great with AI, but in the larger picture, you're never going to be their peer.
Yeah, you
And
got to
so don't
respect your
lower yourself.
elders. Yeah, you have
Right,
to just respect your elders. You should respect your parents. You can respectfully disagree with your parent, and that's fine. But it
right,
has to be a two-way street. I also
right.
wonder. You're a doormat mom and doormat mom no more. I'm sure that there are fathers that also go through this. But let's just be honest. It really primarily falls on the mom. And I think moms take a lot of blame for a lot of things, and moms are the catch all for a lot of things. And as growing up and then with their adult children too, you see in culture and society, not in every case, but in a lot of cases, it's the mom that takes the brunt of it, and dad gets a certain amount of respect that mom doesn't get. Why do you think that is?
And not for anything. I think it's because the mom is doing the brunt of the raising. All right, that's the reality. The mom is doing more of the hands-on. So you have you'll have that confrontation that comes up, where dad might be outside of it, all right, not on the regular 24-hour, 24/7, right? So I think that's part of it. Look, I also think it has something to do with being a male in our society. That male um, influence is a little bit harder for young adult kids to get over on, so to speak.
Hmm.
It's a primitive thing, as crazy as it sounds, but it is there. And so I think that's part of it too. A lot of times in this case of being a single mom, I mean, the father's checked out, so she has to cope with it. And they're going to push the envelope. The adult kids are going to push the envelope, and she's going to get the blame because she's the one who did the majority of the parenting or all of the parenting. So she's the target, right? Everything that she might have done wrong, a mistake she might have made or not, but is perceived that was made. Okay, becomes the sticking point for these adult kids. Well, there's a point where parents do make mistakes, and I've yet to see one really good parent when they made a mistake wasn't willing to listen and to take accountability. Okay, because they want their relationship. They of course they want their relationship. That's your child, but then it's got to but you can't hold it over the parent's head for the rest of their lives. At some point you let it go. You can't blame the parent for every mistake that was made yesterday, today, and tomorrow, or every choice that you made yesterday, today, and tomorrow based on what they did.
Yeah.
You have to grow up,
Yeah.
right? And I think we have a very juvenile society, and we have a very it's almost as if this society, our the current generations have to have trauma in their lives. They have to have some sort of familial trauma in their lives so they can all relate. And it's crazy, but we're all like when I was growing up, this wouldn't even have been a concept because we didn't have time for this. We were just, growing up, we listened to our parents, and not to say, as you said before, that all of that was wonderful. I think, obviously more conversation needed to be needed, and and you need to, you need to recognize your child as also a person, 100%. But but so much of what's going on today, and even with regards to the mental health, they have the worst mental health today that they've ever had in history, and
Right.
that's been proven. So, is this getting them anywhere? Is this making it better? We're not making families better. We're not making society better by going down this route, right?
Right.
So we need to back it up, and we're creating weak people, and because of that, they're always looking for someone to hang that blame on.
Right.
And unfortunately, it becomes the mom, and certainly secondarily the father. Someone's going to get the blame, and it's not going to be these adult kids.
Well, I think there's just an overall lack of accountability, and mental health has been weaponized to shirk responsibility. I hope we can get to a place, and I think that, this isn't always the case, but I think when people grow up in maybe in smaller towns, smaller states, they're, maybe they still have a strong tie to their religion, to their family, to their culture, that maybe this is lessened a little bit. And then when people are just thrown to the wolves and social media becomes their end all be all, and they learn all these things on social media about their trauma and all this, I think that that's a big part of the problem. I'm hoping that young people will grow out of it. Even adult children, I'm hoping once they have children of their own, perhaps they'll grow out of it. And I hope they do, because parents need to have a backbone. And you're a perfect example of that. Doormat mom, no more. Thank you so much for taking the time and for speaking the truth. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tommy. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. That does it for this special episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I will see you right back here Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.